The Azores and Bermuda are two island groups in the North Atlantic. Prior to Victoria is a pretty town with patterned cobble streets on the island of Terceira in the Azores. At the top of a narrow side street is the Church of Santa Cruz, dating back to 1456. It was built in the Renaissance style. The interior is richly decorated. There are open-air cafes in the streets around the main square, where there is the town hall, statues, and more cafes. On another side street is the Church of Santa Cristo, a typical Azores church. It was built in 1521, burnt down in 1921 and rebuilt in 1924. At the bottom of the hill is an environmental park. In the park there's a fitness trail, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's not made much difference though. Across the bridge is a wetland reserve. There's a scented garden as well. On a nearby hill is the monument to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, patroness of the town. The monument overlooks the harbour and the promenade, with its monument to the fishermen. The harbour has berths for 210 pleasure boats. After lunch aboard, we took a trip across the island, which was slowed down by herds of goats. We went to Mont Brazil, a fortified peninsula on the south of the island. On the top of this extinct volcano is the monument to the Portuguese occupation of the Azores. From here there are fabulous views over Angra, capital of the island. Just above the trees we could see the blue Church of Mercy. Then we went down into Angra and parked just outside the town hall to go on a walking tour of the town. We started at the Botanic Gardens. Passing the palace of the Captains General, a former Jesuit college, and little side streets, we came to the Cathedral of San Salvador, which was constructed in 1570. It was badly damaged in an earthquake in 1980 and reopened in 1985. Opposite is the old Bishop's Palace. Nearby is a house with a pretty little courtyard. The street ends at the top of a high wall built to protect against tsunamis, and from here there are views down over the harbour. A footpath leads down to the promenade and along to the Mercy Church, which we saw from Mont Brazil. There's a statue of Vasco da Gama in front. At the side of the church, this old building has been decorated in an unusual style. We returned to the ship, passing Goat Island on the way. After 4 days at sea, we reached Bermuda, where we tied up at the old Royal Naval Dockyard on Ireland Island. The Queen Victoria had arrived before us. We disembarked and walked along the jetty past the old defensive walls and followed the green footprints to the National Museum, which is inside the fortress. Then we came to the victualling yard, where food and drink were prepared and packaged for the fleet. When the yard was constructed, the only means of preserving supplies was to salt them and seal them in barrels. Many of the buildings have been converted into craft workshops. There are tens of thousands of feral chickens in Bermuda. One of the towers on the shopping mall shows the time of the next high tide. The other shows the actual time. A fleet of little trains takes passengers to and from the ships. After lunch, we took a trip on a small boat along the shoreline, where we saw historical colonial homes in pastel colours, as well as an exclusive neighbourhood known as Millionaires Row, where Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones have a home. There's no natural water source on the island, so all the roofs are ribbed and whitewashed to collect rainwater for drinking, washing and cooking. It's important to keep up with the whitewash, as this is the only thing that keeps the water pure. The boat passed Hamilton, the capital, before returning to Dockyard. We reboarded the ship and raced up to the top deck to watch Queen Victoria leaving. But we stayed in harbour overnight for an extra day on the island. The following day we took an island drive, stopping first at Gibbs Hill Lighthouse, one of the first cast-iron lighthouses in the world. It was built in 1846 and is 117 feet tall, has 156 steps inside and stands on one of the highest hills in Bermuda. You can see both sides of the island from here. This particular panorama is called Queen Elizabeth's View. Close by is the beach at Horseshoe Bay. The next stop was the city of Hamilton, capital of Bermuda. There are attractive colonial buildings along the high street where most of the main shops are found. Many of the shops are shaded by colonnades. The harbour is on the other side of the street. On the northern tip of the island is the pretty town of St George, former capital of the island. Here is a good example of a stepped whitewashed roof for collecting water. In King's Square is the town hall and the tourist information office. There's a pair of old cannon outside the town hall. There are shaded benches all around the square. We heard the sound of a kiskadee and found it on top of the mast of the replica of Deliverance, a ship built on Bermuda to rescue stranded sailors in 1610. We made a final stop at John Smith's Beach. Then we crossed the world's smallest drawbridge on our way back to the ship, where everyone gathered on the stern for the sail away.